How can you be okay being single? I have been single my whole life. My dating history since then has been tragic. People are going to think, she needs help. Is she okay? How can you have the most fun being single that isn't reliant on another person? It doesn't need to be painful. It can be bearable and it can be fun and you can enjoy it. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not some sort of disease being single. It's something you can catch. You can do all the things that you would want to do in a relationship on your own. My next point is, hello and welcome back to a conversation with Erin, with me, Erin. This is our little safe space to have a chat about anything, everything, and all in between. I'm also going to get under my blanket today which I'm going to have to try and do without moving the tripod because it's cold. It's actually quite hot outside, but the house is cold and it's giving me autumn vibes. The heat wave has finally worn off and it's given autumn. So before we get into today's topic, have a little weekly roundup. Not a lot to share with you. Still applying for jobs. I have decided, however, I've got a plan. I haven't had a plan with what I want to do with my life. I've just been applying for willy-nilly. I hope not that, oh my god, applying for willy-nilly. That sounds weird, but I've just been applying for everything. I've even considered at one point like moving to London and doing stripping. Didn't tell anyone that idea. It was like very short-lived because I'm the least sexy person you'll ever meet. So I wouldn't be a very good stripper. I would just be like, oh my god, I'd be terrible. I'd be the worst stripper ever. A lot of respect to the girls who can do that because it's an art form. Like I respect it so much. Like I wish I could do that sort of art. No, it's not me. So I've been really unsure what I wanted to do and I felt very cool to start helping people again. So I'm not going to say too much because things are being worked on and produced and stuff behind the scenes. But I feel like I've actually got a plan now and it's exciting. I'm really excited and it feels right. I can't explain it. It just feels right. Happy new moon to those of you who celebrate. I've actually felt really connected to this new moon. I think it's because as part of my 75 Glow Hard challenge, if you want to know more, you can check out my TikTok, erinbaker_. It's all on there. As part of that challenge, I've been meditating every day basically, and that naturally, I think, raises your vibrations depending on how you meditate and what your purpose is for meditating. And I felt more connected to everything. I think I feel more connected spiritually to the moon, the universe, all of that stuff. I've been really working with the energy. Last night I did a tarot spread for myself. And today I'm going to do some journaling because it happened at, I think it was like 2:30 a.m. last night or this morning, so the energy's still here today. People who aren't into like the moon are gonna think I'm mental. I promise I'm not. However, this is gonna make you think I'm mental. I brought a book about Wicca and I really want to learn more about it and start doing spell work. I think using nature in that way for holistic purposes, like I won't be like making a voodoo doll about anybody. Like it would all be well intended spell work. But yeah, so I'm studying that at the minute. Studying that, who do I think I am? I guess we'll get into today's topic. How can you be okay being single? I have been single my whole life. I actually know that's a lie. We won't lie. I have had one relationship in primary school. I was, how old was I? Probably 6 when I got my first boyfriend, and he was my boyfriend until we were maybe like 9 or 10. No, maybe younger than 10, maybe 9 or 8, something like that. We were together for a few years in primary school. We were in a relationship on the basis of we both loved animals and we were in the same friendship group. However, at the time I was with him, I also fancied my best friend's boyfriend. He was also in the friendship group. Yeah. I might have been younger than 6, actually. I might have been like 4. It was a primary school relationship. My dating history since then has been tragic. There's been 1 time, 2 times, 1 time, when I've been very, very near getting in a relationship. However, he done me over. But that was when I was like 14. No, maybe I was a bit older than that. I was like 15. Doesn't matter, Erin. And then I had another... See, this is where it gets messy. I've spoke to lots of people, but nothing's come out of any of it. My friendship group was so incestuous. So it was we had a massive girls group and a massive boys group, and we'd go to parties and everyone would just get with each other, and it was just so incestuous. Like, 1 minute you'd be talking to one of the boys, and then the next minute they'd be talking to your friend, and you'd be talking to the person that your friend was talking to. Like, it was just so incestuous. Since then, in my adult dating life, I've spoke to quite a few people, but it's never been anything serious. I can't remember the last time I had feelings for a boy. So there's a very long way of me saying I'm well acquainted with being on my own and being single. Relationships are more alien to me than being single is. And I think it used to bother me when I'm younger, but I'm at a point in my life now where I'm so comfortable in my own company and by myself that I'm not going to just be with somebody for the sake of it. I'm well used to being single. Like, I've got loads of advice that I can share. I do think I am going to do an episode though on the difficulties with never being in a relationship and not really dating and being in your early 20s and not having that relationship when you're younger, because a lot of my friends who dated seriously when we were in school, definitely, I can see from social media and stuff, find it a lot easier to date now and get into relationships a lot quicker. But if you're somebody who is currently struggling with being single, or has struggled in the past, or just wants some tips of how to make it more fun and exciting, your place is here. Well done for finding me. If you would like to stay around for longer, make sure you follow or subscribe. Make sure you rate 5 stars, please, on Spotify, or like on YouTube. And I also do have a TikTok and an Instagram for this podcast, but all of that information will be down below. I think for me, the only time when I get bothered about being single is Valentine's. It's a little bit naff. And then I find winter time the most difficult. I think during summer, I don't really mind. It's normally around winter time that I just think, it would be nice. I think for me, it's more longer term that I worry about, because I'm not really in a place right now where I would have time for somebody. I think that's what I would say is just be realistic with yourself. And it's like, I know that by being in a relationship, I would have to give up some of my time. And I don't know if I want to do that right now. I don't want to make that sacrifice for somebody else right now. If the right person come along, however that would be, because I don't ever meet anybody, but if they did suddenly appear and I felt that that was right, then it would just become effortless to give that time up. And it wouldn't feel like a chore to have to give that time up. That wasn't even a tip that I wrote down, but that's my first thing I would say is acknowledge with yourself that, like, you have to make a sacrifice, and is that person worth that sacrifice? If it's no, then, like, good, like, be alone. It's better than making sacrifices of your time, which is so, so precious. Like, time is the most precious thing in the world. It's better than making those sacrifices for somebody who doesn't deserve it and isn't gonna be for the long run, you know. I am concerned that somebody's going to see my search history. I'm not going to lie, because I've searched for other recommendations. Obviously, I've got my own, and a lot of this is my own, but I didn't want to miss out any of the information, any of the data. So if somebody goes on my search history, it's how to be okay single. my tips on being single, being okay, people are going to think, she needs help. Is she okay? I'm okay, I promise. Like, this is probably the most okay I've been being single. The time that I struggled the most was in uni, and it's not because I wasn't okay with being single. It was because everyone I lived with at one point in time was seeing somebody in a relationship, and it just made me feel like I was quite lonely because I didn't have really anyone to spend my evenings with. So I was just in bed on my own. I'm like, this is a great time to be with somebody, because he could just be laying next to me and we could be watching films and like having fun and chilling. And that's when I was like, oh, that is when it'd be nice. But it wasn't at a place of I felt like I needed that. It was at a place of I don't want to be alone in this moment. So there's a difference between wanting something and just trying to put a plaster over something else. So my first big tip is to date yourself. Now, this is obviously a very obvious one. It is probably one of the most important ones though, because you need to get comfortable on your own. If you're not comfortable on your own, you're then going to be reliant on the other person, and then that causes attachment problems, and you just need to be okay on your own. And I think the minute you get comfortable on your own, single life will be so much easier for you and so enjoyable. And I don't want this episode just to be about making single life easier. I want it to be about how can you have the most fun being single that isn't reliant on another person. I don't mean by having fun being single, it's fun because you can go and date loads of people and go and have sex with loads of people. That's not what I mean. I mean being comfortable in your own company, that you literally do not need anybody. You don't need anyone because you've got yourself. And that is so amazing that everything else is just a bonus. So get comfortable on your own. Date yourself. This will look different for everyone because everybody has a different idea of what fun is. However, I made a few suggestions. So my first one is take yourself for dinner. Now, I know for some people this is going to be really, really scary because they don't like being on their own in public. And if this is you and this is a little bit too out of your comfort zone, go to M&S or Tesco Finest or even just Tesco and treat yourself to a really nice meal. Something that you wouldn't normally have in your Monday to Friday, or even go get a takeaway. I think cooking, for me, I find it more enjoyable than just ordering something in. But even if it is you order in the meal that you would eat out, and then make a point of lighting a candle, sitting with your meal, maybe even having a glass of wine, play some music in the background, or put on your favourite film, and make a point of making it really romantic of just you eating your food. And obviously if you're on your own, take a book out with you or have your phone, or just don't be on any social media, just to like be in your own thoughts. I think if you're using your phone or a film as a distraction for your own thoughts, it's kind of like a mute button on your own thoughts, that's missing the point slightly, because by doing this, you're forcing yourself to spend some time alone and you're forcing yourself to be with yourself. So that's really sitting with those thoughts and those feelings and getting to know yourself. So that's date number one. So obviously, meals a very normal date. Cinema is also another great date, not a great first date. And again, you might feel uncomfortable going to the cinema on your own. If not, amazing. This is something that I want to do soon, but there's just nothing I really want to see. But go to the cinema. If you don't want to go to the cinema, get some microwavable popcorn, buy a film on any of the TV streaming services, or that might be free, and have a glass of wine, or go to the cinema, pick up your snacks and drive home and watch a film, or just buy snacks in. And make a point of, again, making it really romantic for yourself, spending some time with yourself. Give yourself a cinema night at home. Look for pop-up events in your area. For example, puppy yoga, obviously like ceramic painting. There is I know in London they sometimes do you bring a choice of drink and you do painting. And obviously that's a great date idea, but it's also a great solo date idea. Anything that could be a date, you can also make into a solo date, as long as you're making a conscious effort to be in your own thoughts and be your own company. By doing this more regularly, by building up, so obviously your first solo date might just be to go for a coffee or go for a walk by yourself without a podcast, and then you can slowly build it up to going out for a meal or taking yourself on a day out or doing something for the first time that you would maybe do on a date on your own. But by doing this, you're slowly building up your own tolerance to yourself and like your own tolerance of being in your own thoughts. I know that's a really weird word to use, but for me that's what it was doing. Is I had to get to know myself and I had to get used to knowing myself. And it might not make sense, but if you do it, it will. You have to get used to not distracting yourself from yourself. It does make sense, in my head anyway. And slowly but surely it'll become second nature, and you will learn that your own company is great, because you probably do annoy yourself, but that's fine because it's yourself and you're not worrying about what anyone else thinks, and it's just you and yourself and you're vibing. You're like, yeah, we're great. Yeah, we have our thoughts, but that's fine. We can work on them. Because if it's someone else and they annoy you, you can't tell them to work on what annoys you. Whereas if it's about yourself and you're annoying yourself, you can work on that. It's great. The next one is kind of similar. Doing things for yourself that you would want done in a relationship. And what I mean by this is buying yourself flowers, buying yourself chocolates, like the expensive chocolates, or buying yourself a really nice candle, or running yourself a bath with petals and a candle. Doing those romantic things that you would love for a partner to do for you. And this is, again, is going to look different for everyone because everyone has different love languages. Everybody likes different things. Everyone finds different things romantic. Some people like the really, really cheesy romantic stuff. And if that's something you like, do that for yourself. Some people don't, and if that's okay as well, do the stuff that you would want your partner doing to you or for you. But by doing that, you're slowly making the time you spend alone more special. Yeah, of course, nothing is nicer than somebody you really like bringing you some flowers. It's never happened to me, but that's fine. Like somebody you really like doing something for you that they thought of their own back that you haven't had to ask them for. That's such a special feeling. And of course, you doing it for yourself isn't always going to be quite the same. However, by doing that, you're still giving yourself a little something. And if you look at your love languages, you can love yourself in accordance to your love language, and that will really speed the process of loving yourself so much more. So if your love language is acts of service, doing things for yourself that you know it later you will love, that will be a form of loving yourself and giving yourself that love. If it is gifts, buying things for yourself, if it's words of affirmation, which will come up later, talking to yourself nice, all of these little things, like just, I would 10 out of 10 recommend doing a love language test. I think in any sort of relationship, romantic or not, and the relationship you have to yourself, it's so beneficial to know those things. Applying the love languages on your relationship to yourself and acting in that way, however that is so beneficial. So for example, if your love language was physical touch, this is going to sound really, just bear with me, touch yourself. And if you want it to be in that way, great, I love that for you. But it's also in ways of like stroking your hair or stroking your arm. I hug myself, which sounds mental, so I'm going to put the microphone down so you can see it if you're on video. Literally how you'd imagine it, and you just hug yourself tight. And that's a really good move if you have anxiety, actually, because it gives you that feeling of like a weighted thing on you, so it helps to regulate yourself and calm you down. But if I'm feeling a little bit like I want to hug, just hug yourself, and it actually does work. I know it sounds mental, but it does work. And obviously, again, it's not going to be exactly the same as somebody you really care about doing that to you, but it is really nice, and it does help you to feel less lonely and less alone. My next point is fake it till you make it. I wake up and I decide I love myself and I'm happy with who I am. And I know this isn't necessarily how to be okay being single, but I do think being okay being single does come down to how comfortable you are with your own company and how much you like or dislike yourself. I wake up and I make an active choice to love myself. It doesn't mean I do, and it doesn't mean that whole day I'm like, I'm the most sexy, beautiful, funny person in the world, there's no one better than me. That's not what I mean. When I look in the mirror and I think of a bad thought, push it out the way, replace it with a good thought. That's an active choice. It's something that takes a really, really long time, and I'm still way far behind where I could be in my journey. But by making that active choice when you get up in the morning, you're making a step in the right direction. So you just don't entertain those negative thoughts. Those negative thoughts of, you'll never find anyone. That's no use to anybody. Why are you thinking that? You replace it with, I will find somebody when the time's right. Carry on with your day. You look in the mirror, you're like, you look bad today. Replace it with, I look beautiful. Even if you don't believe it, self-love affirmations. And I don't mean the live, laugh, love on your mum's wall. I don't mean that. And I know it's very like wellnessy now. It's become, I think, in the media a bit like, oh, here they go again talking about affirmations. A bit like how crystals a manifestation become. But it's so important, and you feel mental. You feel absolutely crazy stood in the mirror, like saying nice things to yourself. You feel mental and you feel so cocky and you feel so just like full of yourself to sit there and say all those things and think all those things. You're like, why do I think this? Like, I shouldn't be thinking this, because of how society is built. We're not supposed to love ourselves and we're not supposed to build ourselves up. So when I'm stood there in the mirror going, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy, I'm worthy, I can't even say sexy out loud without cringing, like about myself. I just can't do it. So we clearly need to work more on that one. But when you say all those things about yourself, inside you're just recoiling. You're like, I don't think these things, I don't believe any of these things, they're gross. But it does work and it does make you feel good. At the start you don't want to admit it. So when I first started doing this, I'd look in the mirror and I'm going, I'm so confident, I'm beautiful, I'm loved, I'm enough. And I was like doing it, I'm like, I hate myself, I hate this, I hate myself, I hate this is gross. Like deeper down, those things I was saying to myself. And then afterwards, I actually felt like good about myself. And I was like, wait, no, it's just a fluke. And then the next day I did it and the same thing happened. And now it's just something that I make a choice to put into my life of like, I'm going to think and say those things about myself. And obviously some days they don't work and some days they do. But on the days they do, when you're doing them consistently, it's so much more powerful. Please do your affirmations because it will make you feel good about yourself. And so even if you're feeling a bit lonely and like you're never going to find anyone, tell yourself that I'm comfortable on my own and I'll find somebody when the time's right, and you will slowly start to believe it. Okay, this next one is making yourself feel sexy for yourself. Now, don't do it for anybody else. Don't do it for literally anybody. Do it for you. And this could be even if you are in a relationship or you're seeing somebody. But do it for you. Do it because it makes you feel good. If it makes that person feel good too, amazing. But as long as you're okay and you're feeling good and you're feeling happy, great. So the things you can do to make, because you might be like, oh, how can I make myself feel sexy? Like, that's someone else's job, isn't it? No. Buy yourself some new underwear or wear a matching set. I never wear matching sets. I don't even think I own one. But when in the past I have had a matching set on, or I've had like a nice bra on, not just like a bralette, like a lacy bra, I'm like, oh, I feel really good right now. And as somebody who is the furthest thing as we established earlier in the episode, from Sexy as Possible, the fact that like even just a piece of clothing can make me feel like that. It can make anybody feel like that. If I've shaved head to toe and moisturised, I just feel so good about myself. It does make me feel sexier. Even if it's just a little bit, it makes me feel like, oh, I feel good. Like I'm shaved, I'm moisturised, I feel like I've looked after myself. I feel proud that I've looked after myself. And yeah, I feel really good about myself right now. Number 3 is dance. Okay, this is exposing myself. Number 3 is dancing around my room to, I feel like scissors a great shout if you're looking for something to make you feel really like hot and empowered. But just anything, any music you love, just dance around your room, feel your body, feel yourself, don't care what anybody else thinks because nobody else can see you. Like, pull the blind down if you have to. Move in a way that just feels natural to you. Like, I don't mean like you can be jumping around, like pumping your arms in your head, but I also mean like move your hips, like move your waist in ways that you wouldn't in public because you're not very that good at it. Me. Like, move your body. And when I say touch your body, I don't mean in a sexual way, but touch your body so you know yourself. And that sounds like a really weird thing to say, but it's really important actually to know what your body feels like in terms of a health reason as well. For example, you should be feeling your boobs like every other day in the shower. But by feeling your body, you'll know yourself. And I think it creates a comfortability with your body, if that makes sense. And yeah, like, just wiggle your body around. Not like that, because that's not sexy at all. But it doesn't matter whether you look sexy, actually. It's how you feel. And I find just putting on some really great music, dancing around, I feel great. And I feel like I'm amazing and I'm beautiful. And in that moment, I don't need anybody. And that's the point of this. By making yourself feel sexy in those moments when you do feel like that, you don't feel like you need anybody. I do think if you're single and all you're doing is watching other people live their lives in a relationship, you're naturally gonna feel jealous and like you're missing out on something. So give yourself that. And I'm being very careful not to say keep yourself busy, because I think by busying yourself, you're just putting a plaster over the problem. However, giving yourself something else that you can love, enjoy, and get something out of, it will hopefully replace that void of feeling like you're missing out on something. For example, starting up a new hobby, or joining a club or group, or doing something you love, which could be making pottery, it could be gardening, it could be reading, it could be exercising, it could be cooking, baking, it could be anything. And by giving yourself that thing that you do in your spare time, for one, it'll be like a date. You could treat it as a date, but also it's giving yourself something nice and enjoyable to look forward to, which if you're in a relationship would maybe be in replace of spending time with that person. You're just spending time with yourself. And if you got into a relationship, you might have to make certain sacrifices on how much time you spend on that thing, which if it's the right person, you'd be more than willing to do. But it just takes that time away that you would be spending scrolling through social media, seeing everybody at Winter Wonderland, seeing everyone at Winter Wonderland, Winter Wonderland. That's right, isn't it? Winter Wonderland, wishing you were there with somebody. I also think it's important to say that you can sit with the feeling and you can feel lonely. You can feel like, actually, I really want somebody to share this moment with, and it's really crap that I don't have anyone to spend this moment with and to share it with, and I don't have that person there when I come home. And that's really rubbish. And it's really rubbish that there are people out there that are in love and they're happy and they're seemingly in a perfect relationship, and I'm on my own. You're allowed to feel okay about feeling bad about that. That's fine. But don't dwell on it. Don't let it consume you. Sit with it. Maybe have a bit of a cry. And then carry on. Journal about it. Just don't let it be what you are. You can feel something, but that feeling doesn't need to consume you, because you don't need to feel sad about it all of the time. You can feel happy being alone. You can do all the things that you would want to do in a relationship on your own. Of course, it's nice to share that time with somebody. Of course, I would love to have a best friend and a boyfriend all in one person who gets on with my family and understands me and I understand him, and we just have the best time together. But I don't have that, and I'm also okay, and I also love my life and I love myself, and I'm not any less of a person because I don't have that other person. So I think that's really important. It's a really important thing to know. And again, it's also really important for you to remember that everything you see online is just what you see online. Nobody's perfect. Nobody has a perfect relationship. It might look perfect, but it's definitely not. Yes, those people are really, really happy. It doesn't mean you can't be happy. And just because somebody's relationship seems perfect doesn't mean that it is. And it's great, and they're having a great time. They haven't had hard times, and they haven't had to make sacrifices to be in that place. They're just fortunate, some of them, that they've met their soulmate. Some of them are just both too uncomfortable to be on their own, so they're settled together. And you don't want that to be your life. Maybe you do, I don't know. I know I don't want to settle. I would rather be on my own than settle. Of course I would love that person, of course. But it doesn't mean that I want that so much. I want that company so much that I would settle for something that I'm not worth, that they're not worth, that doesn't make either of us happy. It's just okay. That's not worth it to me personally. You might be different, and that's okay too. We're all different, and that's what's so amazing and beautiful about this world. But I also want you to understand that you don't need to settle to be like more than enough on your own, you know? And I also think, make a list of benefits. Like, what are the benefits of you being single? Because there will be some, even if it's just one. And then slowly but surely add to it. If you can make a list of benefits on your first time and it's like 50, amazing. But if you're doing it for the first time, like making this list of benefits, and it's only one, okay, go back tomorrow and add another one. And I'm sure slowly you'll be able to build up. And if you're feeling a bit low, just read your list. That's okay. And carry on. Because it will help. I think that a lot. Like if I'm like, oh, really want to be with someone right now. Like I'm feeling really lonely, and what's wrong with me, and why have I not found anybody, and I must be the problem. I will sit there and think, okay, no, but what realistically are the benefits of me being on my own? I come up with a few. I feel a bit better. It doesn't take it away completely. It doesn't immediately make you feel like I'm okay with being alone, but it just helps. You don't need to love being alone or single. However, it doesn't need to be painful, and it can be bearable, and it can be fun, and you can enjoy it. There is a different line for everybody. Some people want to love it, some people don't want to love it and be really, really comfortable, but they just want to have a bit of fun. That's fine. Just find where you feel most comfortable and just do it slowly. Little things, take baby steps, don't need to rush it. And hopefully, if you follow those steps, it will become a little bit easier for you. Obviously, you're going to have days where you want a relationship more than anything in the world. I obviously have those days. But what's different to when I was younger is I don't let it consume me, and I don't put that blame on myself. I used to blame myself. I don't do that anymore. It's not my fault. It just hasn't happened yet. There's nothing wrong with me. And when I find the right person, I won't feel like that. And that is the same for everyone. There's nothing wrong with you. It's not some sort of disease being single. It's not something you can catch. It's not like there's a big sign on your forehead saying, I'm single, don't come near me. It's just where you are, and that's okay. It's better to be single and on your own, learning to love yourself, than be in an unloving, unhappy relationship where one of you isn't faithful and the other one's hurting and you're both hurting and just really unhappy. I know where I would rather be. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. If you'd like me to talk about anything specific, you know where to reach out. All the links will be down below. I also have a question box on Spotify, and obviously there's a comment section on YouTube, but the question box on Spotify, put whatever you want in there. You can put your thoughts on the episode, you can put recommendations. I always check it out. Let's do our 3 gratitudes and our 1 hope for the future. So my first gratitude is I am grateful for the 75 Glow Hard Challenge. I found it really beneficial for me. Like, my limited use of social media has been incredible. And yeah, I'm about to start a new book. I finished my old book yesterday, so I'm super excited for that. I'm going to make myself a cup of tea and start that. So yeah, I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful that I kind of feel like I know where I want to go now. I've got an idea in my head, and I'm grateful that I know that. And I'm grateful that it's starting to feel more autumnal. I'm grateful for that too. And my hope for the future is that I can share with you what I'm dying to share with you very soon. I hope that I can share that soon. I hope that it's going to be ready soon and it goes well and it's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed this episode. It's been a bit chaotic with the dog, so I hope that hasn't interrupted us too much. And like I said, let me know if there's anything you want to see. Follow the Instagram and stuff. Subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. And I will see you next Monday for another episode of A Conversation with Erin. Love you all. Thank you for all your support ever.